Gabriel was a silent man, a widower, a father, still a prisoner of Lorena's memory. One ordinary day, his son called out, "Dad, that woman looks like Mom." When he looked, his heart skipped a beat. A homeless woman with a face identical to his deceased wife's. What seemed like a hallucination quickly morphed into an obsession. He had to know who was that woman. And what he uncovered would not only change her life, but what remained of his own. The road stretched out endlessly, yet the silence between father and son was even vaster. This was their first trip alone since Lorena had passed, and Gabriel tried to keep his mind on the wheel and his heart steering clear of longing. They pulled into an old gas station, one of those places smelling of burnt coffee and stale donuts on the counter. Nicholas, restless in the back seat, asked to stretch his legs. Gabriel nodded without taking his eyes off the car's dashboard. It was then he heard his son's voice, small but firm. "Dad, look over there. It's Mom." In the reflection of the window, Gabriel almost dismissed it, but the boy's tone compelled him to turn, and when he looked in the direction pointed, the world paused. There, sitting on the ground, dirty, leaning against the cracked wall of the station, was a woman with Lorena's exact face. Identical. Gabriel Miller was never a man of exaggeration. Reserved, methodical, owner of a logistics company inherited from his father, he lived as if completing tasks, not choosing them. Since Lorena died 2 years prior, life had become an automatic routine. Wake up, care for Nicholas, go to the office, return, pretend everything was under control. But nothing was. Lorena's absence was a shadow that wouldn't vanish, not even under the brightest sun. That morning, when Nicholas pointed to the woman on the sidewalk, something inside Gabriel shattered silently. He opened the car door slowly, as if any movement might scare away that vision. He approached. The woman didn't see him. She was distracted, fiddling with a piece of dry bread as if it were treasure. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. Her clothes were dirty from days, maybe weeks. But her face, it was the same. The eyes, the jawline, the way she furrowed her brow. "Excuse me." The woman looked up. Gabriel froze. It was like staring into the past. But in her eyes, there was something different. There wasn't Lorena's sparkle, but a heaviness, an abyss. She quickly looked away. "I don't have anything, mister. I'm just here, quiet." Her voice, it was hoarse, but it had the same low, sweet tone. He couldn't respond. He wanted to ask her name, if she knew anyone named Lorena, but he remained silent. She stood up with a plastic bag in her hand and began to walk away. "Wait." She paused for a second, then continued. Gabriel stood there, motionless, feeling the world spin without him. When he returned to the car, Nicholas asked, "Was it Mom?" Gabriel ran a hand over his face, trying to find an explanation. I don't know, son, but she looked so much like her, so much." The journey continued, but the silence between them was now different, thick, uneasy. Gabriel tried to convince himself it was just a coincidence, but something deep down, that intuition that doesn't ask permission to exist, told him otherwise. And it was there, at that moment, in the middle of an ordinary road, that everything began to unravel. Gabriel spent the next 2 days trying to focus on his business trip, but couldn't. He attended meetings, visited clients, delivered reports. But in every pause he saw her face. Olivia. He still didn't know her name, but the image of that dirty, silent woman rooted itself like a thorn. On the 3rd night in Pittsburgh, he dreamed of Lorena. She was smiling, but said nothing. He woke up sweating, a question caught in his throat. What if she wasn't dead? He knew it sounded absurd. Gabriel had held Lorena's hand during her last days in the hospital. He had watched life drain from her in silence, buried her body, cried at the coffin. But then, who was that woman? The next morning he left Nicholas with a hotel nanny and drove back to the gas station. It was as if something pulled him back. But the sidewalk was empty. He waited. 40 minutes. Then an hour. Nothing. He went into the diner and discreetly showed the attendant a photo he'd taken from the car, while the woman was distracted with the bread. The young woman recognized her. She appears sometime, but then vanishes out of nowhere. Never says her name. Seems scared of everything. Gabriel's heart pounded. She was real, not a hallucination. And what's more, other people saw her too. He returned to his car and called an old acquaintance, Samuel, a private detective he'd used for years on delicate company matters. He needed answers. "I want to know who this woman is. She lives on the streets of Pittsburgh. Maybe she's been through a shelter or a hospital. The photo's on your WhatsApp." "Complicated, but I'll start." "Total discretion, Samuel. You got it." While waiting for the first leads, Gabriel made a decision. He would return to the spot every day until he found her again. The next afternoon, she appeared. She walked with slumped shoulders, eyes downcast, like someone who expected nothing more from the world. When she saw Gabriel, she stopped. She recognized him, but said nothing. He didn't rush either, just extended a bottle of water and a clean jacket. "I don't want anything in return, I thought you might need it." She took the bottle, remained silent for a few seconds. "Why are you doing this?" He hesitated. "Because you remind me of someone." The woman lowered her eyes. "I'm nobody." And there, in that simple, cutting sentence, Gabriel's heart crumbled. Because, for the first time in a long while, he wanted to believe he could fix something. Every day, Gabriel returned to the same spot. Always with something simple. A fruit, a clean shirt, a hot coffee. Olivia. He heard that name from a gas station attendant who saw her ask for leftover snacks one day. Wasn't easy to approach. Suspicious, wary, she spoke little. But she no longer fled. Samuel called on the 5th day. "I've made some progress." Gabriel locked himself in the hotel bathroom to listen. "She was admitted to a public hospital about 4 years ago. Came in with an infection. Name, Olivia. No last name. No relatives. No ID." Silence on the other end. "But there's more." A nurse noted she seemed to have come from a shelter, one of those old ones that don't even exist anymore. The person in charge on the record was Clara, a social worker. "She's retired now. I got her address." Gabriel jotted everything down with trembling hands. The next day, he drove to a modest house in a neighborhood forgotten by GPS. He rang the doorbell. A woman with graying hair and tired eyes answered. "Mrs. Clara, my name is Gabriel. It's about a woman named Olivia." The woman's expression shifted. She opened the door wider. "Come in. Yes, I remember her." They sat at the table. The smell of coffee and mold filled the air. "She was one of my girls. Arrived as a baby, left at the shelter's doorstep. No name, no history, just with a note." Gabriel felt a chill. What did the note say? Clara went to an old file box, rummaged through folders. "I don't have the original note, but I kept a copy of the file." She handed him a yellowed sheet. "Provisional name, Olivia. Age, newborn. Remark, left with a handwritten note. We cannot raise 2. We already have 1 daughter. Forgive us." Gabriel read it 3 times. 2. We already have 1 daughter. He felt his stomach churn. "My wife, Lorena, was born in 1991. She never had a sister. At least that's what her parents said." Clara stared at him for a few seconds. "Not every story is told, Gabriel. Sometimes parents make choices and then bury the truth." That night, Gabriel drove back to Los Angeles, his heart pounding. He went straight to his in-laws' house. They received him, surprised. He didn't beat around the bush. "I need to know if Lorena had a twin sister. I need you to tell me the truth." Silence fell like a stone. Her father, Mr. Douglas, lowered his eyes. Her mother, Mrs. Eleanor, brought a hand to her mouth. After a few seconds, he said, "She did. But we couldn't raise 2. We were in debt, had nothing, and we thought we were doing the right thing." Gabriel stood up, feeling the ground slip away. "You hid this from your own daughter. She died without knowing she had a sister." His mother cried. "It was supposed to be temporary, but the shelter closed. We never heard from the other one again, and then it was too late." He left the house with a wooden box in his hand. Mrs. Eleanor handed it to him, saying, This belonged to both of them. A pair of baby shoes. One stayed with Lorena, the other with the one who was taken. Back in Pittsburgh, Gabriel couldn't sleep. The truth was now unbearable. Olivia was Lorena's sister, abandoned, forgotten, silenced. While one grew up surrounded by love, the other was left behind. And the cruelest part, she didn't even know. Have you ever discovered a truth so painful it felt like it couldn't fit inside you? One of those that changes everything and forces you to decide whether to tell or keep it forever. If this has happened to you, comment yes below. I'll read everyone. Gabriel returned to the park bench the next day, the wooden box in his hands. Inside, the tiny shoes, embroidered, aged but intact. Olivia was sitting in the same spot, her body hunched against the wall, her gaze distant. When she saw him, she didn't flee, but she didn't smile either. He approached slowly. He sat beside her, saying nothing at first. The silence between them seemed less hostile now, more weary than anything else. "Olivia," he began, his voice low. She didn't respond. She just kept staring at the ground, as if the words weren't meant for her. I found out some things about you. And about someone you never knew." She turned her face, suspicious. "Are you going to tell me you know me? That you saw me in a beautiful past I don't remember?" Gabriel shook his head. "No, I'm going to tell you that you have a sister, and her name was Lorena." The name made her shoulders stiffen. "She died 2 years ago. She was my wife, and that's why when I saw you, I thought I was losing my mind." Olivia frowned, her eyes starting to glisten, but with anger. "Are you saying I'm related to rich people now?" "I'm not saying that. I'm saying you were left at a shelter as a baby, that you had a twin sister, and that I found the note." He extended the box. "This here, it was for the 2 pairs they bought when you were born." She looked at the object as if seeing something she had no right to touch. It took a moment, but she took it with trembling hands. She opened the lid, saw the tiny shoes. She remained silent for a long time. Then she whispered, "I'm not that person. I'm just leftover garbage. People the world didn't want." Gabriel looked at her firmly. "No, you are part of something bigger, of a story that was hidden from you." She cried, but silently. Her face still hardened, but there were cracks. "I don't know what to do with this." "You don't need to know now. You just need to know you're not alone anymore." She said nothing more, but she didn't return the box. She just held it in her lap, as if it was something that had always been hers, even without knowing it. In the following days, Gabriel respected Olivia's silence. He didn't show up every day, didn't pressure her, didn't insist, but he left signs that he was nearby: a clean shirt folded in a corner, a bottle of water, a note with a simple "good morning." She didn't respond, but she never refused. On a cloudy Tuesday afternoon, she spoke before he did. "Do you know any place that won't lock me in?" Gabriel understood what she meant. "I know a welcome center. It's not one of those shelters that throws you onto a dirty bunk bed. It's different. They have a psychologist. They have respect." She looked into the distance. "Respect? I don't know what that is." The next day, he came to pick her up. She got into the car as if entering a sacred place. She held the bag with the tiny shoes in her lap. The place was clean, smelling of lavender. The coordinator, a woman named Sharon, received her without judgment. No forced smiles, just with dignity. Olivia saw the room, the kitchen, the bathroom. She asked if they locked the door at night. The answer was simple. "Here, everyone has their own key." She fell silent, but as she left, she just said, "Maybe I'll stay a few days, just to see." Gabriel nodded. "Staying doesn't trap you, but it offers you something you've never had: choice." And that day, for the first time, Olivia slept in a bed with clean sheets, and she dreamed of a girl on the other side of the glass. But the path wasn't easy. In the following weeks, Olivia fluctuated between openness and withdrawal. One day she would laugh at Gabriel's silly jokes. The next, she'd be silent, isolated in her room. She started attending medical appointments. She discovered anemia, chronic fatigue, and marks her body carried without ever having been treated. "At least now I have a name on a medical chart," she said. One day, Gabriel took her for coffee at a discreet place. She accepted, distrustfully. During the snack, she stared at her own cup and said, "When I was 16, I ran away from the shelter. I jumped the fence in the middle of the night. I was tired of waiting for someone to want me." He didn't answer. He just listened. "I went through abandoned garages, through men wanting to buy dinner in exchange for a touch. One hit me because I wouldn't. Another made me believe he would love me." She took a deep breath. "I got pregnant. The hospital treated me. They gave me a paper. I signed. They said I wasn't fit. They took my child. I don't even know if it was a boy." Gabriel closed his eyes for an instant. "And why are you telling me this now?" "Because for the first time, someone seems to be truly listening." She didn't cry, but she didn't harden either. Gabriel slowly extended his hand. She hesitated, but didn't pull away. And in that touch, something began to change. Not externally, but within. The morning Gabriel handed the brown envelope to Olivia, she didn't ask anything. She just stared at the folded paper as if it were a weapon or a mirror. "Is it the test?" He nodded. "The lab confirmed. You and Lorena are twin sisters. 99.999% compatibility." She didn't move a muscle. She didn't even look at the result. Gabriel expected an explosion, crying, anything, but what came was a deafening silence. "You're quiet. What if it's true?" she said, her voice low. "If it really is, it means they threw me away." He tried to speak, but she continued. "It means someone chose one of us, and I wasn't the chosen one." Her hands trembled. The paper remained untouched in her lap. "I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me, that I was born crooked, that maybe I shouldn't have been born at all." She stood up, started pacing back and forth. "And now you're telling me I had a sister, that she lived everything I didn't, that she died without even knowing I existed." Gabriel approached. "She also dreamed of someone, of another girl like her. She just didn't know what it was. She died thinking it was just a dream." Olivia stopped. Her eyes were full of water, but didn't overflow. "Was she good?" "She was light. And you have the same look when you're not defending yourself." She laughed bitterly. "But I'm just a shell now, a hard shell. Lorena was a flower. I'm the thorn." "No, you are root. You survived without anyone. That's more strength than any flower." Olivia sat down again. She held the paper without opening it. "If I accept all this, what changes?" "Everything," Gabriel said without hesitation. "But especially one thing. You stop being the invisible woman no one saw. Because now, you are part of someone's story." She closed her eyes, and for the first time she let the tears fall. Without shame, without hiding. "I don't know what to do with this past that isn't even mine, but now belongs to me. You don't need to know. You just need to take the first step and trust, at least a little." She took a deep breath, looked at the envelope, finally opened it, read one line, 2. Then she looked at Gabriel. "You're not going to disappear, are you?" "No, now I'm here. For real." And in that moment, she believed. Not because of the paper, but because for the first time in her life, someone stayed. The apartment was small, with worn flooring and a makeshift curtain. But for Olivia, it was a palace. She had a bed all to herself, a new toothbrush, a refrigerator with yogurt, and for the first time, silence without fear. She still woke up startled sometimes, thinking she was on the cold sidewalk. But she just had to look around, and remember that now she had somewhere to return to, and that someone was waiting for her. With time, her body changed. Her face gained color. Her gaze, once hard and opaque, was now alert. She learned to make coffee the way Nicholas liked it. She learned to say good morning without feeling weak. Gabriel remained there, not as a hero, but as someone who understands that some pains don't need healing, just space to exist without shame. And one day, without meaning to, Olivia smiled the same way Lorena smiled. Nicholas noticed. "You smiled just like my mom." She replied with a whisper, "She lives here." Very quietly, inside me. And the lesson Olivia learned the hard way is one that might resonate with you too. That even forgotten stories deserve to be told. And that no one, absolutely no one, is born to live on the margins. Because sometimes all someone needs to blossom is for someone to say, I see you. If this story touched you in some way, leave a like. It's the simplest way to tell me, yes, this story was worth it, and I love knowing who's on the other side of the screen. Tell me in the comments, what city or country are you watching this from right now? Seriously, it connects me even more with you. And if you believe in the power of stories like this, subscribe to the channel. Every new subscription gives me courage to keep telling what many people prefer to hide. And don't go yet. Choose one of the 2 stories on the screen and come with me to the next video. I'll wait for you there.